Well, a very good afternoon. Welcome to Les Sabres d'Olonne. It's Sunday, the 12th of December, sorry, the 18th, the 12th of December, indeed. Welcome to our Vendée Globe Live. Now, if the if the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything, the answer is 42. It's the 42nd day of the race course, and what better day for Yannick Bestaven to cross across the anti-meridian. You'll see the 180 degrees east become 180 degrees west, and you'll start to see the numbers diminish as he increases his course to the east. In the meantime, he's also passing the longitude of Auckland, where we see the America's Cup, the first America's Cup World Series event just finishing, and the preliminary stages. Also, we have a connection with Ken Reid, who is there. He's our guest today. He's the 3 times Volvo Ocean Race sailor. He's America's Cup sailor, and he's the main commentator for the America's Cup series there. Also going on just now, we have Louis Burton going into Macquarie Island to make his technical stop there. And he went in earlier on in the day, and we'll have Marie from the redaction team who will join us and give us an update there. Meantime, we're also trying to connect with Boris Herrmann. Boris is a big America's Cup fan, unfortunately over recent days he's only been able to have text commentaries. So we're going to try and connect Ken Reid with Boris. But first of all, the standings at midday today. Well, Yannick Bestaven, as we said, is leading. He's 129 miles ahead of Charlie Dallin. Charlie Dallin is 42 miles ahead of Thomas Riong. Riong is in third. Boris Herrmann is up to fourth as of yesterday. He passed Jean Le Cam, and he's 217 miles behind Riong. Jean Le Cam is in fifth, and he's only 49 miles behind Boris. In turn, he's in fifth, 41 miles ahead of Benjamin Dutroux, who's in sixth. Damien Seguin is in seventh. He's 25 miles up on Isabelle Joschk, who in turn is 89 miles ahead of Giancarlo Padotti. Obviously, with Louis Burton stopping into Macquarie Island, then he's dropped to 10th, and that is to the benefit of Isabelle Joschk, who's up to 8th. Padotti is now in 9th, and Louis holding 10th just now. Looking down the table for our internationals, well, Alan Rura steady in 15th, still very much out on his own. Pip Hare in 17th, now has Stéphane Le Deraison between her and Didac Costa, but all three of them very close together. And then on the next page, we have Kojiro Shiraishi in 22nd. He's doing 16.9 knots just now and going very nicely on DMG Morai Global 1. Miranda Merrin is in 23rd, and we spoke with her earlier on. She's in good form, has had 1 or 2 little problems, and she has got Clément Giraud now between her and Alexia Barret. And Ari Hosela in 28th, doing 9 knots and sailing very, very steadily. And so that's the standings at midday. Good to see Boris Herrmann up there in 4th place, the top European or top non-French skipper. We're very fortunate today to join Ken Reid, the main commentator at the America's Cup down in Auckland. Ken, our boats are, I think about 750, 800 miles due south of you at this moment. It's a great moment for sailing to have the 2 premier events happening at the same time.
Well, that's the understatement of the century. It's I looked as hard as I could. I can't see them. I got some really good binoculars. I couldn't quite pull it off. But it's talk around here too. You know, the America's Cup is a big deal, but we're here in New Zealand where everybody knows about sailing. So I think the Vendée is being watched with one eye and the America's Cup with the other. So it's it's a very interesting time, and it's a great time for the sport.
What are your thoughts on the race so far? You've obviously have a strong interest in the race.
Well, as a fan of sailing, it's so intriguing. But as an offshore sailor, of course, you look at what these people do, and I look with awe because I know how hard it is, but I know how hard it is with a full crewed boat. I can't frankly fathom what some of the stuff these people are doing. Whether you're at the front of the fleet, the back of the fleet, it doesn't matter. It is It's so impressive. It is so hard. You know, I guess every once in a while you get a little tinge of jealousy, like, wow, it'd be really nice to be there. And then you look a day later and it looks miserable. It's like, wow, my couch feels really nice right now. So it's a feat. It's a feat that humanity should understand more about, because it's almost impossible. And these people make it look incredibly possible. So it's hard to do.
It is hard to do, but I mean, somebody who's making it look easy at times, but it certainly looks very relaxed. It's all superficial, I think, on the surface, is Boris Herrmann, and we're joining Boris on board Sea Explorer Yacht Club de Monaco today. Boris, how are you?
Hi, Andy. Good to hear you. Little interruption of my loneliness here. No, I'm very good. Glad to talk to you.
Hey, listen, I know, Boris, you're a big fan of the America's Cup as well. You were following it the other day. I have Ken Reid, one of the commentators, to talk to you.
Oh, that's fantastic. Hello, Ken. Cheers. Nice to meet you here over the phone. And indeed, I was very disappointed when racing was called off today, because I'm hoping for my morning entertainment, and that didn't happen.
Oh my goodness, you probably know more about this than the rest of the world. That's slightly crazy in its own way that your communications are that good, but you're pretty close. You're only about 700 miles away from what I understand.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I'm 24 hours here on the boat by myself, so I need some distraction, some communication. And at the moment, Europe is sleepy when I'm up. So in the morning, I have my friends in New Zealand, a good friend Sharon. She from her kitchen table, she was posting and live commenting for me a little bit on WhatsApp the first race of the Cup, the Christmas race today. And yeah, that's just nice to have this excitement shared, even all the way to here in the Southern Ocean, and it looks spectacular what's happening in Auckland there. And I have a friend sailor on team BAR, so I'm a little bit anxious to see that they didn't perform yet as they wanted, and so yeah, I'm quite following.
Do you have some questions for Boris, Ken?
Do things that frankly none of us ever thought that a boat could do. But you're out there sailing boat and just out of curiosity, as you got into the Southern Ocean, as it got rougher and rougher and rougher, and I know from my Volvo days how rough it can be, how much are you using that foil now, or how much are you kind of putting it away and preserving your assets? Because honestly, it really seems like you're doing a really good job of keeping control, not getting too high, not getting too low, and keeping the boat in one piece.
Yeah, exactly, Ken. That's my strategy. I'm sailing always in the green zone. I don't want the boat to suffer, and I don't want myself to suffer neither. It's the priority is the boat, though, not me. But the Indian Ocean was very particular. The entire Indian Ocean was stormy with short sea state, very choppy, and VMG running all the way. So you could say that's great, VMG running, but it doesn't really do much for the foiling, especially with that sea state combined. So I had my foil at 40, 60, or at 60%, maybe half the Indian Ocean. Anytime the wind drops below 25 knots, then I can properly use it. But we had lots of days with wind 30 and then gusting to 40 and boat speed with... The problem for me was that sometimes the boat would just accelerate crazy too much, and so we were trying to control that and slow down. And you will see big benefits from the foil anytime now in the near future when it's a little bit more reaching, medium wind reaching, and of course in the Atlantic as well. So yeah, I think everyone here is pulling the foil in when it doesn't serve, but it's we're not really afraid to break the foil. You're rather afraid to break the entire boat or the rig if the boat accelerates to kind of 38 knots and then nose diving into the next wave constantly. So that's then where you say, okay, stop this, it doesn't make sense, I pull the foil in.
So I was just saying that there's times where we're all jealous, but then when you describe all that, my couch here feels all the better.
Exactly. I listened in that conversation already. I envy you sometimes for the couch, that's for sure. Especially on a Sunday morning, like now in Europe it's Sunday morning, and my family, they sit there, they celebrate this thing, the fourth Advent they call it. They light the Christmas candles, and so yeah, it's a strange feeling, but I'm still happy to be out here. Especially today, I even have a bit of sun. I'm treated quite well. I'm being treated quite well.
So are there? We always talk about solo sailing and lonely moments. And I remember in the Volvo having lonely moments, and I was surrounded by people. But because of the modern communication, do you find there's fewer lonely moments, or do you find some times where it's kind of tough to get yourself back going again?
I think it doesn't make such a big difference. I remember my first around the world where I was basically just on email, so I would connect maybe twice a day and then take my time for the emailing. And actually it was probably a bit easier than to really be in the moment and be with myself in the rhythm locally. Whereas if the mind shifts too often to the land and to a different setup, then you don't find yourself in your own kind of harmony and flow. And I think it took me longer this race to get into accepting that I'm out here and that I don't clinch on to all these contacts and communication anymore. So it definitely changes, but it has huge benefits. I mean, it's fantastic to be able to just call my wife and hear her voice and call friends and sponsors and so on.
Oh, that's fantastic. What do you think about the boats that have struggled? And do you think about the correct amount of boats had mechanical, physical problems that you expected, or was it more, or was it less? And as a follow-up to that, are you seeing a lot of debris in the ocean, and do you kind of fear for your foils sticking out the side of the boat?
I have seen a few huge lumps of kelp in the last days, and I would think if you hit that full speed with your rudder, that could at least release the rudder kick-up mechanism. You don't want to tangle that around your keel neither, but I haven't seen any dangerous debris. Like Clarisse Cremer, she reported seeing a barrel, an oil barrel, so that can definitely do a lot of damage. We all have this radar system, the Oscar, the infrared camera in the mast now, and mine detected a fender. Ironically, imagine I would run into a fender. That wouldn't be that bad. There was a huge fender drifting here out at sea. That's the only detection I had so far, and definitely with this Oscar thing switched on, I sleep better. But it's something we can just ignore. I mean, if you think about it too much, you couldn't do this race. I pray to the gods of the sea that there will be nothing on my path back to Les Sables d'Olonne in the water. We also have whale pingers on some boats. I have one. It's a machine that does a specific sound to scare whales away. We hope that helps, but who knows, huh? And yeah, the boats broken so far. I mean, it's each individual story is heartbreaking, and it's nothing you would kind of mix together. I think every story is different and singular, and PRB always has probably been a little bit a light boat with some structural worries attached to it, but any case is different, and the Arkea, we still have to understand what happened there, and also Corum, we don't know really why the mast broke. But fingers crossed there will be no more boats. If we keep it like this will be actually, as harsh as it sounds, it will be a good Vendée Globe, because there have been Vendées with half the fleet dropping out at this stage already.
Guys, just 1 second. We're going to have a quick look at the weather. We'll come right back to you in just a minute. So let's start by looking at the weather for the entire fleet, really, just in the big picture. About 5,000 miles now between the leader, Yannick Bestaven. Yannick Bestaven down here, almost due south of Auckland. Auckland up here where the America's Cup first races are starting to go on. The preliminary World Series races are just finished. Where Auckland is here and Yannick Bestaven is here, the race leader, about 950 miles, something like that, between Auckland and the leaders. So say Yannick Bestaven here. I'm going all the way back to Merci back here is Sebastian Destremaux and Ari Husela. So looking quickly at the main systems, we have these three low pressure systems, or these two are pretty much joining up. So it's really a question of timing just now where they sit in the low pressures, and also relative to these high pressure systems up to the north. Looking at Yannick Bestaven, he's in the best position. He's coming out of the high pressure system, moving away from the influence of the high pressure for the moment. Then a little bit further back, we just see this peloton have now moved away from this low pressure system that they were riding. The back of it here we have Maxime Sorel. He's in a good position. And then here we see Clarice Kremer has moved a little bit ahead of Roman Atanasio. All the time Armel Tripon seems to have his own weather systems, and it always seems to be beneficial for him. He's going quite well. Correspondingly, Arnaud Boisset just seems to, just in terms of timing, always be with this high pressure system and is not getting the benefit of the turn of the low behind him. Alexia Barry and lighter breeze at the back. So that's the general situation through the fleet. Let's look a little bit more detail at the front. Now this is the situation for them. Now this high pressure system is moving towards the southwest and southeast, sorry, and as Yannick Bestaven, as I say, has got the best position just now, but let's see how that influences this situation on the second chart now. Now this is looking forward until Christmas Eve and the 24th, so you can see that this high pressure starts to dominate and the boats are required to get up above it and hook into this low pressure system, and all the time that looks to be good for Yannick Bestaven on a Maitre Coq. His timing is better and he's got more chance of getting up to this low and getting, although there will be some upwind sailing initially as the getting into the easterlies underneath this low pressure system. So that's going to be a little bit complicated over the Christmas period for the leaders. And if we can just bring this quickly up, this is our animation, and you'll see this in a little bit more detail. This is the high and the low is up there, and we're just going to run my animation very quickly. And you watch this influence of this high pressure all the time. Just now we're in this corridor which gets compressed more and more, having to jibe underneath the high with the lighter winds there. Meantime, look at this group here. They're pretty much running the ice gate or the ice barrier all the time, and we keep talking about this compression, which we have seen with the peloton probably have pulled back about 100 miles on the second and third placed boats. And then, as I say, this is kind of getting towards Christmas Eve when we have this high has descended down towards the ice barrier and makes life a little bit complicated. And that's, so this is kind of Christmas Eve as we were talking about. But quite a complicated week ahead for the leaders in particular, and some low pressures coming in at the back of the fleet as well. So that's the weather this Sunday. So Ken, do you have one last question for Boris? Something about the sail program, perhaps?
Yeah, I do. So Boris, our sails, hopefully our sails are doing okay. If they're not, if you could please be nice and gentle to me, that would be great. But I saw you up in a bosun's chair the other day repairing a little bit of chafe. I'm hoping, well, first of all, I hope the sails are doing what you had hoped. But wondering, what did you ever figure out where that chafe came from?
Yeah, Ken, the sales are doing great. I'm very happy with my selection of sizes and shapes. I have quite different from most other boats. I have a jib top. The only other boat that had that was Alex Thompson, who unfortunately dropped out, but no other boat has a jib top, and I used it frankly to the excess in the Indian Ocean. It's a little bit bigger than a J2. It's like, you could say, like a storm Janiker almost, and that sail is worn out a little bit on the foot, because when I use it together with the J3, it sometimes gets a bit of sucked in, and the foot starts to flap, and I didn't take enough care, and that the foot is a bit damaged, but I managed to repair that. And the other thing that you mentioned was actually the zipper of the J2 opened. So we have the J2 on our permanent fixed headstay, lashed to the top and the bottom and closed with a zipper, and the zipper started to open in the bottom. I don't know exactly why. Probably the hanks that are inside have not been tight enough, or the tack tension in the sail was maybe too loose. Maybe the runner was too loose when I was reaching hard with the sail. Anything like that could cause too much tension on the zipper and to have it fail. And luckily, a smart North Sail sailmaker had the idea that I undo the zipper in the bottom and close it from the bottom up to the breaking point, and then restitch it there. Normally the zipper closes from all the top to the bottom along the forestay, which of course solo, single-handed out here would be very difficult to manage to put that into place.
Well, Andy, that's the advertisement that I needed right now. So that's the best thing that I've heard in a long time.
Good. Thank you so much, Boris, for joining us. Do you have any questions about the America's Cup before we go? Who's going to win?
Yeah, I imagine Team New Zealand looks pretty strong there, and they continue on the 15th of January, so if I understood correctly, that means a little bit of entertainment for all of us sailors, sailing fans in our last half month of the Vendée.
Cool.
No, thank you. I'm well informed on the America's Cup.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Boris. We'll speak to you again in a few days. And back to you, Ken, in Auckland. So you had a little bit of a day off today then, did you?
Yeah, well, it's never a day off. We get to talk for 4 hours with no racing underway. So I wouldn't exactly call that a day off, but I'm super lucky with doing this with Nathan Outeridge and a brand new guy to sailing, Stephen, who is he's about as crazy as it gets. He's a professional. Stephen MacGyver, and he's a pro from New Zealand. So the three, and of course, don't forget Shirley Robertson, who is another absolute pro, somebody who's really made that transition from very high level sailboat racing, obviously 2 gold medals, to the media side. So the 4 of us are having a blast together, and we're watching boats do things that we never thought. And you know what the nice part about these original trials is that everybody's still making mistakes. So mistakes are fun to talk. We have something to talk about, and there's no clear-cut person out in front right now. It's clear that the British have a little something to do to get up on pace with everybody else. But for the most part, the other 3 teams are pretty darn close and very competitive. And I'm sure they all got a million tricks up their sleeve that they need to work on over the next few weeks. And then the Challenger trials start and we do it all over again. So, it's really fun. And then we have our North Sails facility down here and Southern Spars facility down here. So we get to do a lot of work. So for me right now, it's about 22-hour days, and I get to talk about sailing for a fair chunk of it.
That's fantastic. Any technology that you can see crossing over into the IMOCA fleet anywhere at any time?
I think a ton, and I think both the fleets kind of really mesh in certain ways. But there is no question that a lot of this rig technology and the sail technology is going to cross over eventually with these twin skin mainsails. There's a real potential of adaptation there. The foil systems, the hydraulic systems, just the systems in general in these boats is crazy. I even think like winch systems, harken I know has worked on a single motion gearing system that I think most of the teams are using it. Listen, when this much money is spent on sailboat racing, there is no way that that kind of information and that kind of machinery isn't going to trickle through the sailing world. And it is, it always does. It's never obvious at the time, but it always does. And when it does, we have the America's Cup to thank for it, and all the tons of money that's poured into it, and that I think average sailors around the world reap the benefits sooner or later.
Indeed. Ken, lovely to speak to you. We could talk well into your evening, well into my morning, but hopefully we can catch up again at some point over the course of the rest of this Vendée Globe. Thank you so much.
Hey, and I didn't get a chance, but tell Boris, sail safe. Never mind fast, but sail safe.
I think he's doing a great job in that respect. Anyway, thank you, Ken. All the best, and to everyone there.
Hey, bye now.
And indeed, Boris Herrmann doing a great job sailing a very moderate course, just keeping things super simple and very much sailing to a prudent strategy. And it's working for him. He's lying in fourth place and going well. I'm joined by Marie from our French redaction team. We're going to get a little bit of an update on the situation with Louis Burton. So Louis arrived at the Macquarie Island today.
Yes, hi Andy. He has to stop in the Macquarie Island to repair a mast problem. So for that he will not anchor. He has positioned his boat to drift to the south at 2 or 3 knots, and as long as possible. And for that he has to repair a mast problem. So he will cut a piece of rail, replace it, install a halyard to be able to hoist his mainsail again. And it should take him 30 minutes to climb, to go up, and around 1 hour to do the repair. So if all the conditions are met, it should be good in 2 hours.
It should be a fairly short pit stop then, should it?
Yeah, pit stop, but exceptional images.
And yesterday, his big problem was he had got no autopilot, so he'd been steering for a long time.
Yeah, it's a little weird because 15 days ago, his radar sensor stopped working, and yesterday the second failed. So he has to steer around 17 hours. So then in turn on again, it was working again. So he's worried because he doesn't understand where the problem comes from.
So it's a little bit intermittent. Marie, we'll catch up with that story on our Vendée Globe flash this evening at 6:30 French time. Meantime, do join us tomorrow where we'll be featuring a little bit on Pip here. She's having such a good race and catching up all the time. So join us tomorrow at 12:30 UTC, 13:30. Any questions for Pip, then do put them on our social media channels on Instagram, Twitter, or indeed on Facebook, and join us tomorrow.